Hey everyone, we're the Master Brothers, and this is our review of the HomePod Mini.
We're going to be breaking it down using our master rating, so that'll be M for money, A for aesthetic, S for sense, T for technology, E for expectations, and R for our final rating.
Let's get into it. The HomePod Mini costs $99 or £99, and to be honest, it's pretty expensive for what you get. Its competitors in terms of size would be the Amazon Echo Dot or the Google Nest Mini.
Now both of those options cost £50 or $50 each, which is literally half the price.
And also the Echo Dot, you can frequently find it on deal, £35, sometimes £25, so it's pretty brilliant. I've seen the Nest Mini on deal a couple of times, but I don't think as often as the Echo Dot.
Yeah, so you're never even paying that full £50 really.
Yeah. In terms of price, the HomePod Mini's competitors would be the Amazon Echo or the Google Nest Hub. And both of those are going to cost you about £90 or $100.
Yeah, and that's still even a little bit cheaper than the HomePod Mini is, so pretty crazy.
Yeah. So because of that, I'm going to give the HomePod Mini a score of 4.
And I gave it a score of 5.
Yeah, in classic Apple fashion, they did overshoot a little bit on the price, but the one thing that they did do really well is with the aesthetic.
Yeah, the HomePod Mini is wrapped in a really nice fabric that's kind of like mesh, and it looks good, it feels good.
And it tastes good. I felt like that kind of flowed.
It doesn't taste good. I mean, we haven't tasted it. Don't taste it. Don't bite your HomePod Mini.
On top, there's a circular touch display, which looks really cool when you call Siri. It kind of reminds me of a magic 8-ball, and then Siri comes to the top whenever you ask it a question.
It doesn't say any text or give you any sort of fortune-like predictions though.
No.
With the space gray one, the screen on top is a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but with the white, it's a lot better at hiding those fingerprints.
I actually really like the white color. Most of the things in my room are either black or gray, so the white kind of stands out and it pops, so it's a nice bit of contrast in there.
That's true. I'm not a huge fan of the white. I think it kind of looks a little bit dirty sometimes, like it's not completely pure white, and if you get some marks on it, it'll definitely stand out, so I'd probably get the gray. I also think that I would prefer physical controls rather than just the touch display, because sometimes if I'm using my Echo in my room, it's kind of behind my screen so I can't really see it, and if I needed to control it, I wouldn't be looking at it, I'd just be like working on something and then trying to do it without looking, so I think physical controls would have been better.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So on that note, I gave the aesthetic an 8 out of 10.
And I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Now thinking about sense, the HomePod Mini is definitely not the most sensible smart speaker out there. I mean, if you're very deep in the Apple ecosystem, and by very deep I mean you've got iPhone, Apple Watch, MacBook, Apple TV, AirPods, and Apple Music as well. I think Apple Music kind of takes you to that next level of Apple ecosystem. If you're that deep in the Apple ecosystem, I think it does have some pretty cool features to take advantage of.
It has the ability to recognize different voices, which most smart speakers have. But with the HomePod Mini, it integrates with the Apple ecosystem. So say you have one in the living room and you have everybody's voices added to it. Anyone in there can add reminders to the Reminders app, make calendar events, take notes, and even send iMessages. So for example, I can say, "Hey Siri, send a message to mom saying, are you gonna go for a run today?" And then it will send a message to my mom.
Okay, Milan. Your message to Mum says, are you going to go for a run today? Ready to send it?
Yes.
Okay, it's sent.
But then my dad can say the same exact thing and it will send a message to his mum or my grandma. Now this was probably the third try of us doing this, so it doesn't work every time.
In terms of the build, the only really unsensible thing about it is that the US and European plugs aren't at 90-degree angles, so basically the plug just sticks out and it's really annoying, and they really should have thought that through, because most of these devices are going to be plugged in behind a bedside table or a dresser, and that's going to really limit the amount of space that you'll have for the plug. But luckily the UK plug is fine, it points down, but for those US and European ones, that's quite annoying. You can always get an aftermarket USB-C plug,
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just an extra cost, isn't it?
The speaker is really good for its size, but for the price, I'm sure that the Amazon Echo or the Google Nest Hub provide far better audio, especially at higher volumes.
Yeah, just being bigger, they have so much more opportunity to actually provide better audio. So
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think the smaller form factor is worth it. Now, your home smart devices need to be HomeKit enabled in order to work with the HomePod Mini, which really limits the number of devices that you can use with your HomePod Mini.
So yeah, the HomeKit enabled devices are great, but a lot of them tend to be more expensive, and there's so many more devices out there that work with Alexa or work with Google Home. So yeah, there's definitely a limiting factor in terms of HomeKit. So pretty much, it only really makes sense to get the HomePod Mini if you meet these following conditions. You have an iPhone, you have only HomeKit enabled devices, you're looking for a small speaker with great sound, and you have Apple Music or Pandora in the US.
So with all of those factors considered, I gave the HomePod Mini a Sense score of 6 out of 10.
And I've gave it a score of 6 out of 10 as well.
And that brings us on to tech.
So we're going to be breaking technology down into music and sound, the Apple ecosystem and HomeKit, Siri, the display, and the Home app. So for music, you pretty much need Apple Music or Pandora in the US to take full advantage of the HomePod Mini speaker.
Yeah, with these services, you can tell Siri to play a specific song, artist, genre, or podcast, and you can set an alarm to play your favorite song when you wake up, which will actually probably ruin the song.
That is true.
But with things like Spotify or other streaming services, the best you've got is AirPlay, where you have to just manually select it from your phone. So it's really nowhere near as convenient. With that though, Spotify has now added compatibility with the audio handoff or the beam feature. So basically, if you put your device near the HomePod Mini, you can transfer your Spotify audio to the HomePod. And then you do have some controls with Siri, like you can skip or pause or go back or change the volume. But you still can't pick a specific song by asking Siri. So it doesn't have that full functionality, but it does have some decent functionality.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. When it was first released, it did not work at all with Spotify, but I'm glad they put that now.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm kind of holding out hope that they add Spotify.
I don't think they will, because they want people that have the HomePod to switch to Apple Music. I just think they won't do it. They won't do it.
It's weirdly addictive beaming my music to the HomePod Mini, and I can definitely see myself using it, like if I'm coming back from a run and I want to quickly transfer my music from my headphones to the HomePod Mini.
Also, that beam feature only works with the U1 chip, which is only in iPhone 11s and newer. In terms of its actual audio quality, the HomePod Mini is pretty amazing considering it only has one driver. It gets really loud and it's crisp and high quality at all volume levels, and it can easily fill a bedroom with sound. So, I mean, considering it's tiny, it's really good.
It's pretty crazy. It never fails to put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. It's got computational audio, which will analyze the music you're playing 180 times a second to optimize loudness and dynamic range, as well as an acoustic waveguide to direct the sound. Both of these working together create consistent audio anywhere in the room, and it really works.
If you have multiple HomePods or HomePods Mini, you can link them up and play music absolutely everywhere in sync. Or if you have two HomePod Minis, you can create a stereo pair, and you can link that with your Apple TV to create Dolby Atmos sound.
Compared to similarly sized smart speakers, the HomePod Mini's audio is amazing. But you don't get a smart speaker just for the speaker. You also get it for its compatibility with the other smart devices in your home. And that's where the cracks really start to show.
So like we said earlier, the HomePod Mini only works with HomeKit enabled devices, which unfortunately means that a lot of smaller manufacturers that aren't HomeKit enabled won't be able to integrate with the HomePod Mini.
Yeah, so I use Magic Home for my LED lights, and those aren't HomeKit enabled, so I haven't been able to use them, which has been a little bit annoying.
Yeah, it's you can mainly use the big ones like Philips Hue, Nest, and Ring, so it is a bit unfortunate.
It can get expensive using those brands, and you definitely have less options, so you definitely have to take that cost into consideration when going for the HomePod Mini.
And even with HomeKit enabled devices like Philips Hue, sometimes the integration isn't even as good as you would expect.
If you're looking for integration for pretty much every smart device, I would definitely go for the Amazon Echo Dot, followed by the Google Nest Mini. Now we're going to be doing a comparison between the HomePod Mini and the Amazon Echo Dot, so be sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you know when that's happening.
Now, one thing that they did do really well is with the intercom system. So if you have multiple HomePods around your house, you can tell Siri to send a message and it can play that message to all the other HomePods or to just a few specific ones, which is a really cool feature. And it's not the first time that we've seen that in smart speakers, but Apple have kind of just done it better because they have the ecosystem and you can send an intercom message from any of your other Apple devices.
So yeah, you can send intercom messages from your iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, and even from CarPlay. So it's really cool if you're in the car, you can announce to everybody, oh, I'm coming home. And it will even play through AirPods, so you make sure that everybody hears the message. So they've definitely done well with that.
Now, moving on to Siri. In terms of intelligence, it's kind of smart, but it can also be kind of stupid.
Yeah. An example of when it's really smart is like when you ask it a question, you can say, open this on iPhone, and then Siri will send the search results to your phone, which is really cool.
An example of Siri stupidity is when I try to add events to my calendar. So I have multiple calendars, some being personal and some being shared, and whenever I try to add an event to a specific calendar, it just won't work. It'll only add it to the default calendar, which is quite annoying, and if I wanted to do it on a specific calendar, especially with the HomePod, I'd have to change it from my phone, so it kind of just defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have to choose my words more carefully with Siri compared to Alexa. Even the phrasing of my words is sometimes really weird, and yet it works with Siri. So like for example, with Philips Hue, with Alexa I can just say, Alexa, change lamps to blue, and it will do it. With Siri, I say, change lights to blue, and then it will change the lamps to blue, even though they're in completely separate rooms. My spotlights are also color changeable, but I haven't been able to change any of those lights, which is really annoying. Because when I'm studying, I like a cooler white, and when I'm chilling out, I like a warmer white. Siri is good at sending messages and calling people, and with the HomePod's 4 microphones, when you're on a call, the audio is very clear.
Now, if you actually want to activate Siri, you can either use the usual way of saying, hey Siri, or you can just press and hold on the display on top of the HomePod. So you can see Siri on the display. So when you say, hey Siri, it'll light up and then it'll kind of dance around with some cool animations. And the touch controls on the display are pretty straightforward to use as well.
To adjust the volume, simply tap or touch and hold the plus or minus buttons. If you want to pause the music, just tap on the center of the display.
To skip to the next track, double tap the center of the display, and to go back to the previous track, triple click on the display.
The HomePod Mini doesn't have its own dedicated app, you simply control it using the Home app.
So from the Home app, just press and hold on the HomePod Mini to open up the different options and settings that you can play around with.
Here you can see what music is playing, what alarms you have set, you have the option to set additional alarms, and then you have settings in the bottom right hand corner. So in settings, you've got loads of different options. So you can choose what room it's in, you've got different automations, you can choose your music and podcast services, have some Siri settings, intercom, location services. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff you can customize with it.
Yeah, I think it is nice that they've kept it simple and just stuck it in the Home app, so it's not another app that you have to have on your home screen or look for in the app library. It is kind of nicely thought through. So for technology, we're both giving it a 7 out of 10. It's pretty good, but I mean, it's not unreal, and I think at times it is disappointing. And that brings us nicely on to expectations.
I was expecting the speakers to be decent, but I was shocked at how crisp and how loud it could get. It's pretty crazy.
Now, for the same price, I'm sure that the Amazon Echo and the Nest Hub, which are both larger, would also have probably really good audio and probably better and louder as well.
Yeah.
But for the size, the HomePod Mini is pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely. It's that small form factor.
Yeah, they've managed to pack it into this tiny package, which is cool.
Siri was a bit of a disappointment, as usual. I had some problems adding events to my calendar, and then the Philips Hue stuff was super annoying.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of potential for them to improve and just make things better. So hopefully they do that, because Apple usually, they can be pretty good about making things work better in the software. Not necessarily adding more functionality, but I mean, there is a lot to improve on. So overall, I gave the expectations a score of 6 out of 10.
And I gave it a score of 5 out of 10.
So my overall master rating for the HomePod Mini was 32 out of 50.
And mine was 31 out of 50.
So that gives us 63 out of 50, which is not a great score, to be honest. It was disappointing in many ways. It's expensive. The tech doesn't work that great, especially with Siri, but I think it is still not the worst thing because you get so much sound from such a small package, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and when it does work, it can work pretty well. I think there's just a lot of kinks that they're still trying to work out, because this is definitely something new for Apple. They've only been doing it for a couple of years. So hopefully in the future, I think there's a lot of potential there.
Anyways, that's all from the Master Brothers. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when our next videos come out. We're going to have a video on the Echo Dot and then also comparing the HomePod Mini to the 4th generation Echo Dot. So, from the Master Brothers, we'll catch you on the flippity flip. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you did, let us know in the comments below by saying size doesn't matter, because the HomePod Mini really packs a lot in for its tiny little package.